On today's mission, we're just eyeballing this thing. I'm kind of getting a plan. I went back and rewatched Hugh Jeffries. He did a LBZ ZF6 truck, and I was just looking to see what all he cut out of here. I think he took these things out completely that fit this intercooler, and then just kind of set it flush to here. So I'm gonna kind of just steal his idea on this one. I was kind of hurting for inspiration, and this guy's a little bit crusty. See the rot there. So if I screw it up, I'm not super upset. I'll just go steal another one out of the junkyard. But if I can keep this one, I will. So tomorrow I'll probably start in there with the grinder and just cut this seam here the whole way down and take all this out on both sides. Do a check with that guy. I think these ears have to come off of here, and then if I can drill out for these rubber grommets, that'd be pretty sweet. Just poke them here, and then maybe cut this thing down as low as I can so that it doesn't interfere with the core support mount there. And yeah, we'll go from there. But yeah, I was kind of worried on this one. I didn't really know what to do, so it was nice to get some brainstorming off of his video. He never showed it fully assembled or installed, but I think him and I had similar ideas. I was gonna build a tab off of either this mount here or this mount here. We'll see what fits nicer once it's in. But if I can come like straight across off of this thing, maybe throw a jog in it or something to hit that bolt there, that'd be pretty sweet. And then the rad can just hang out with the fan shroud on it. So yeah, tomorrow we'll dive into this thing and see where we end up. I'm kind of tired today. It was the first day back to work in 2 weeks, and I don't feel like working out here in the cold. So more to come tomorrow. We are officially the next day, and I got this side cut out. It turned out pretty decent. This one I drilled the spot welds out and I whacked them with a chisel, and that kind of wasn't super fun. Here's the piece that came out. So there's a handful of them along here, and I tore out some of the core support in here. So this side, I think I'm just gonna take a grinder and just zip it right along this bottom seam, and then I zipped this top seam here, and that ought to give me plenty of room. Pro tip I learned from a Facebook page is leave this rib long enough that you can fold it over after you cut it, and then it'll give you a nice smooth edge here so you can't cut yourself on it, and it'll look like you might know what you're doing. So same story on this side. We'll cut her out, and then I'll give you a little update on that. I think I got to cut some of this out of the bottom too, so that the rad doesn't rub on it. The intercooler is going to sit right in here, and then the rad will be out in here somewhere. So yeah, we'll see how side B goes. I think it'll go better than side A. This is just long enough to fold over. I don't quite like it, but it's going to have to work because I'm not welding her back on and doing it again. So here we go. Here's the final product on site. Well, not the final product, but that's what it looks like when you grind her off. I'll just take a flap disc and smooth this out, and maybe bring it down to a point or something so it looks decent. I like that better, and it keeps it tied into everything. So as this guy rots and deteriorates, it's got one more stick of metal on it. So I'll give you a quick rundown on what I did here to bend that thing over, just in case you're curious. I'll get you set up over here on the well, this video is going poorly, but you see what I'm doing, right? Just whacking that thing with a hammer and working it over. Then I just do a final crimp with a pair of channel locks, and it gives you just this real nice rolled edge that you can't hurt yourself on. This one here is a lot bigger than the other side. It's going a lot easier, so you know how that is. Do one side and learn how to do it, and do the other side and look like a pro. We'll bring the intercooler over. I might cut this little ear off of here and then nip that out once I see where I got to. And we'll set the intercooler in and see where I got to poke my holes at for the bottom. Alright, moving on. As promised, we got an intercooler. It's got a ways to go to drop down. I know these ears have to come off of it on both sides at the top. So, I can work on that. I might just try to nip them and leave this here, just for not getting into. I don't want to destroy the intercooler. So, here's my mounting point. I think it's gonna go right on here. I'll just bring an arm over. We'll see how that turns out. It might suck without this thing dropping like straight down in, and then you fight all this stuff. So maybe it'll be a screw on and then have an arm off of here. Don't know. Right here, this is the hole for the core support bolt, and right here's where the thingy comes in. So I might just cut this one in half here. Whoop, straight back and over. And then I brought a Sharpie with me so I can mark where I gotta cut this thing out at. So here, follow along over, and then the whole way over to here on this side to have this rad sit down tight to here. Same thing on this side. It's at least symmetrical. We're right into this piece that where your core support bolt comes through. So same thing, I'll cut that one in half, get rid of it. And then the guy I talked to on the internet said that he cut these nubbins down to where they just sat inside of here, and then you weren't interfering with the puck on this side or whatever. So I'll probably end up doing that too. And then this thing should drop right in and sit pretty good. We'll see where we end up with our hold down straps, if they can grab the intercooler, or if I gotta extend them, grab the rad. And then same thing with the fan shroud. I might have to make a bracket for it, but nothing crazy bad. And then it'll look good. I know when I had the 6.5 rad in, it sits right about here, and there's a whole nother like 3-4 inches before the fan. So if this is sitting here, it's gonna be perfect. It won't have any problem, like clearance issues with the fan. So yeah, yank this thing back out of here. I'll cut these off, move that stuff, and then I may have to, maybe I'll just clearance this too while we're in here. Just take him back to there, see what I can do for radius in this corner, make it look kind of pretty, and we'll go from there. Hang tight. Here's a nice mid progress stopping point. I just cut these corners out. The top of the intercooler hits right here. This is the top of my core support here. So notch these out, and then I'm just kind of working this tin and folding it back like I did on this side, so that they kind of look halfway professional. And if you wanted to, you could weld that and weld a square in here or whatever. I'm just going to flatten this out with a grinder, make it so you can't cut yourself. Call it a day. The intercooler, I cut the top guys off, so ground them down. I don't know, aluminum kind of sucks, it took me quite a while to get through both of those and make them look halfway presentable. And they're going to be hidden underneath of this core support anyhow, so it doesn't matter much. But that took longer than I thought to go through aluminum. It just kind of melted and stuck and packed in. So yeah, a couple cuts and almost eating a wire wheel, or not a wire wheel, a cut-off wheel once, and we're getting there. So I'll just hammer this thing back like I did this and make it look pretty. Then we'll do another test fit. The next thing is going to set it in, figure out where I got to drill this hole at, poke it, and then grind those bottom nubs off until they sit just inside of here. And then I'll try to figure out what to do for an isolation bushing. And then come up with a tab to go on here to come down and grab that bolt. And this thing will be mounted. We'll be ready to stick it in. I'm going to try to retain these cross ties. I don't know if I can or not, just because of the head of this bolt here. This kind of has a jog in it, and with a gasket here, it may end up clearing, but I don't really want that rubbing a hole in my intercooler. So we'll sort that out eventually, but not at the moment. So hang tight. I'll do a little bit of sheet metal work, test fit, drill it, and then you'll get to see the final fit. So yeah, hang tight. Tell me GM never planned on putting this in a 400 truck. So I got these poked through, and I'll just nip them back. I'm gonna end up more than likely drilling this hole out a lot bigger, and I'll run a piece of rubber hose on that, and I'll cut everything flush so it doesn't interfere with this. Here's my inside, just chilling. Pretty decent. I might flatten all that stuff out with a grinder yet, just so it sits nice and flat in there. It's gonna have the bushing. I suppose I could put the grommets on it, because we just got clearance at the top here. If I have to cut this thing out, it won't be the end of the world. You won't really notice it. I think the fan shroud comes to here, so you might see this opened up a hair, but I think right now, I can't really tell. I haven't looked, but I'm pretty sure it's sitting on the tanks of the intercooler. And so if I run a nice piece of rubber gasket around it, nothing will rub through. We got all kind of room on that bolt there, so that cross member is going to stay, which is pretty sweet. I hung my hangers on, and that's what they look like. So I think I'm just going to extend this thing out and then re-drill it and bolt them on like that, and that'll support the rad at the top, and then the bottom will be held at the intercooler. And I don't know, I may still strap it on here, I'm not certain. We'll see going forward. I don't know. I don't really want to break the tank off this thing because it's holding up the intercooler too, but I think it'd be okay. More to come on that. We'll see if I feel like building a little strap or something here or here. And yeah, all in all, pretty satisfied with that. That wasn't hard at all. I was kind of worried about this. This is the next worrisome thing after having the engine run standalone. And like I said, super cake. There's room down here, so the whole way between the core support and both rads, there's nothing's touching. It's hard to see, but plenty of space, so nothing will rub through down there. I could probably end up putting my rubber bushings back in on the bottom of the rad as well, just for a little extra support. I don't know if it's needed or not. And then I can weld tabs out for my fan shroud and put those quick nuts back in. I saved all that sheet metal here that has all the nutserts in it. So yeah, kind of neat seeing this thing come together. I thought it was going to be a lot harder than it actually is. This is kind of cool. Through and through, from start to finish, I assume this is going to be a tough project. It's time consuming, but it's not like that difficult, you know? Anyhow, yeah, so I'll put my bushing in. One of them's kind of broke, so I'm going to have to break the other one to make them match. Then it'll shim this up just a hair, and I don't know, I don't really want that touch in there, or else it'll probably rub through. See, right? You can't really see. But there's a spot back in there along this weld here. When it comes back, it's touching the top of the shroud, the top of the core support. So we'll address that. I'm gonna cut this out some more. I know that is a fact. And then that can let this thing sit up higher when I put the bushings in it. So I don't know. I might give you one more rundown of the finished product. I might not. I might just show you when it's in the truck. But not many people showed the bottom and what they did down here. I had to ask a couple guys, and then I got an answer on how to proceed. So figured might as well toss that in the video, because I know someone else will be guessing. This side here is it's kind of deteriorated. There's not a lot of metal left holding it together. So I don't know if while I'm here I should weld a patch over to here and maybe restrap this thing on, or just leave it go and let it rot, and then in 15 years rebuild it again. But if nothing else, it's kind of snowing right now, so I'm not gonna paint anything today. But I want to paint everything I ground and make sure that doesn't start to rust. So a little bit of touch up here and there. Who knows? I might clean it all up. Probably not. We're already behind schedule. But it'd be nice to clean it all up, make it look pretty. But maybe when I pull the engine to do head gaskets or something, I can clean all this stuff up. Because I'll have more time then, right? So, yeah, the only other thing, got some bad news. I committed to either dry January or no beer till the truck's done, whichever comes first. So if I can get this truck running, I can have beer. So we got new motivations to get things done. But yeah, so hope this helps somebody, and good luck. Here we got an almost finished product. I know I said I wasn't going to restore it, but I had to cover up the bare metal. So we gave her a quick wire wheel job and some a little bit of black primer just to make it look a little nicer. This thing's actually in really good shape for what it looked like. The wire wheel cleaned a lot of stuff up, but this side over here is like in really good shape. This side's the one that's a little worse for wear, but the paint really made it pop. So I think it's going to be good enough for this job, and down the road, if I want to patch that or whatever, if it gets worse, I can address that on an annual inspection of tearing the whole thing apart and making sure everything's tight. I notched this here. This side, you can tell it's kind of shittily done. This side over here turned out, this is side B, a lot nicer, pretty decent radius on it, and then had to jog it back up to match. Before it jogged up and then radiused in, so not too noticeable. The fan shroud, the plastic stops right about above these bolts, so I'll have to make a little extension for it, or figure something out. I don't know. That's not difficult at all. That's just, working with stuff. The lower fan shroud, I may end up doing one more mock-up here and may bring it over, attach the whole thing, get the top attached in, and then make just straps that come up and hook with the little nutsert on it. So I'll have just like 3 straps down on the bottom side that I'll weld in and mess up all my paint, but that's okay. Maybe while I'm doing that, I'll patch this guy, because he's that's about the only side, the part that's really worth addressing. Otherwise, I'm not too concerned about it. This is kind of thin, but like I said, it'll hang on to the fenders, and that's all I'm really worried about. It's got all this hit over, well, it doesn't have all that bearing down on it. That's okay, I ain't worried about it. How's that sound? Yeah, I did a final set in, and everything looks nice. Nothing's hitting. I bought my weather stripping today to line around so that the intercooler doesn't rub. And we'll do one more set in with it, and then should be ready to go on the truck. I think tomorrow night's project is going to be putting all the wiring harnesses in while this is out of the way, because once this goes in, it gets kind of crowded in there, and then I can do a final finish on this thing, and then send it on its merry way. So hopefully by today's Wednesday, by Saturday, we should be sitting pretty good with getting ready for a startup. The coolant lines, I know I gotta buy adapters and barbs and stuff, so once all that stuff's ready to go together, I'm sure I'll be making a handful of trips to town. But until then, I got a lot of parts coming in tomorrow, and should stay pretty busy for the next 4 days. More to come. Have a good night, people.